Hello, ladies and gentlemen of my environmental systems classes. I'm not able to be in class with you today, but I wanted to be here for you. I know you guys have been working hard on your projects, and I look forward to seeing them. Make sure that you put them all together on the counter, as was designated by myself or the teacher who's normally in your classroom, so that I'll be able to pick them up. Now that you've finished that, you'll need to get one of these textbooks. If someone will go to my cart and get them out from under my cart, they're in the black basket. Each of you can get one. You can take some time now to pause this video and get them out, and you can restart them once you're sitting at your computer and ready to start. What we're going to be doing today is looking at page 106 inside this textbook. Looks like this. And we're going to start reading here. This is section 4 in our biodiversity. And I'm going to start by just reading it through. And then I'll read through the questions one by one, which will be on the Google Doc here on the Google Classroom. You can split screen it and fill that out as we go through it together. But at this time, we're just going to read it so that we get a good understanding of what the article is about. It's titled, The Search for New Medicine, and now we're going to start here in the middle. Lace up your hiking boots and sling your collection bag over your shoulder. It's time to head out for another day of searching in the cool, damp forest. Stepping carefully to avoid mud, you walk beneath giant evergreens. Their needle-covered branches form a thick roof above your head. Rotting logs covered with ferns, seedlings, and bright-colored fungi line your path. You scan the area for telltale signs of an object of your search. What are you searching for? A plant that can save lives. This ancient forest is the temperate forest of the Pacific Northwest. Many of its giant forests are more than 200 years old. Like tropical rainforests, temperate rainforests are diverse ecosystems. They contain many species that are found nowhere else. But some of these species are rare or endangered, including the bull trout, Olympic salamander, and the life-saving plant you are looking for today, the Pacific yew. We're now on page 107, Biodiversity and Medicine. People have always studied plants for their ability to heal wounds, fight disease, and ease pain. For example, aspirin was originally made from the bark of the willow tree. The active chemical in aspirin can now be made in a laboratory. Almost half of all medicines sold today contain chemicals originally found in wild organisms. For example, digitalis, a medicine used to treat certain heart problems, comes from the leaves of the foxglove, a common garden plant. The study of another plant, the Madagascar rosy periwinkle, has produced 2 effective cancer treatments. From this flowering plant, researchers have produced viscretine, a medication for childhood leukemia, and vinblastine, a medication for Hodgkin's disease. What other medicines exist undiscovered in Earth's forest, oceans, and other locations? In 1998, the American Medical Association called for the protection of Earth's biodiversity. Their goal was to preserve the undiscovered medicines that may exist in nature. Governments, scientists, and private companies are working together to find new species and study known species all over the world. They're working hard to find new sources of disease-fighting drugs. Here's a checkpoint for you. From what plant was aspirin originally made? That actually is back up in the top of page 107, that first paragraph on page 107, in the second sentence. For example, aspirin was originally made from the bark of the willow tree. The figures at the bottom of the page and the picture of the flower first on the far right hand is the foxglove, where the heart medication came from. Figure 18 is states that scientists study organisms to identify new sources of disease-fighting medicines. And the predicting question is, how could the extinction of species affect the search for new medicines? It shows the rosy periwinkle, the flower at the bottom left, that is the source of cancer treatments. And then in the middle you see the long snout seahorse, which is possibly the source of painkillers and cancer treatments. Now we're turning the page to page 108. The story of Taxol. Plants in many ecosystems can produce chemicals that protect them from predators, parasites, and diseases. The abilities result from the plant's adaptations to their environment. In rainforests, there are so many organisms that eat plants. Plants have adaptations that protect them. Some protective chemicals that rainforest plants produce can also be used to fight human diseases. The Pacific yew. The Pacific yew grows in the temperate rainforest. It's unusually resistant to the many diseases and insects found there. Scientists began to study the bark of the Pacific yew to find out why it was so hardy. When they separated the various chemicals found in the bark, they discovered unusual crystals. These crystals are made from the chemical called Taxol, the substance that protects the Pacific yew tree. Taxol as a cancer treatment. Scientists conducted experiments with Taxol in the laboratory. The experiments showed that Taxol crystals affect cancer cells in an unusual way. Typically, cancer cells grow and divide very rapidly. This quick growth forms a mass of cells called a tumor. When cancer cells are exposed to Taxol, the Taxol forms structures that look like tiny cages around each cancer cell. These structures prevent cancer cells from dividing. As a result, the cancer cannot grow and spread. After more research, doctors are ready to test Taxol on cancer patients. The Taxol treatments often were able to shrink certain types of cancers. Sometimes they even stop the cancer from spreading in the body. Taxol is now used to treat thousands of cancer patients each year. And if you look at the pictures on the page, you'll see here is a picture of a Pacific yew tree. Some of the bark has been removed there in the center part. And it says, Pacific yew tree. While studying the Pacific yew tree's resistance to disease and insects, scientists discovered Taxol. And there's developing a hypothesis question. Why might Pacific yew trees need such strong resistance? And then at the bottom of the page, you can see these women. Right here. Oops. Right here. Nope. Here. Still learning how to do this, guys. These are women who are cancer survivors, and these women are breast cancer survivors specifically. And some of them probably received Taxol as a treatment. Going on to page 109. And it actually shows at the top of that page how they're preparing Taxol. Because of its complex chemical structure, it took scientists many years to create Taxol in a laboratory. But we're going to go back up to the top here and read. The supply of Taxol. As the demand for Taxol rapidly grew, many scientists became concerned about the supply of Pacific yew trees. The bark of 3 Pacific yew trees was required to produce enough pure Taxol for just one cancer patient's treatment. Without its bark, the yew cannot survive. Also, by the time researchers discovered Taxol's value as a cancer-fighting drug, large portions of the temperate rainforests where yew trees grow were gone. Today, the bark of the Pacific yew is no longer used to manufacture Taxol. Chemists worked for many years to reproduce Taxol's complex chemical structure in the laboratory, and they finally succeeded in the mid-1990s. This discovery ensured a good supply of Taxol for the future. It also helped protect the remaining Pacific yew trees for future generations. So here's something for you to think about. Why was it important for scientists to find a way to make Taxol in the library? In the laboratory. All right, guys. I'm going to take a pause here for a moment, and I'll be right back to read to you the questions. What you want to do at this time is open up the form, the Google form that is your assignment for today in Google Classrooms, and the questions will be there on the Google form on your computer, and I'll be reading them from the book. You can have your book open, and I will also go back to the section of our reading, let you know the page and paragraph where I'm going to read that says something about that subject of those questions. All right, go ahead and get that up and come back and we'll finish up. Bye. Okay, so for the section 4 assessment, the first question under the reviewing key concept is number 1A. Why did the American Medical Association call for the protection of Earth's biodiversity? This is found on page 107 in the last paragraph. Second sentence. Oh my goodness, it's bolded. Another one of those cues that this is something important. In 1995, the American Medical Association called for the protection of Earth's biodiversity. Their goal was to preserve the undiscovered medicines that exist in nature. Question is, why did they call for the protection of Earth's biodiversity? B is an inference question, so it's something that you won't find directly necessarily in the reading, but you can put it together when you have read things and you connect them. Do you think that scientists have identified all the wild plants that may have medical uses? Why or why not? You may refer back to that same paragraph. After the bolded sentence, it says government scientists and private companies are working together to find new species and study known species all over the world. They're working hard to find new sources of disease-fighting drugs. Then there's C under 1. Suppose many wild plants were to become extinct within a short time. What effect might this have on medical research? Explain your answer. And you can just type that into the Google form. It'll be a short answer. And remember that you can pause between questions or my reading. So question number 2, there goes a phone. Question number 2 is A, identifying what adaptations of rainforest plants make them likely sources of medicine. And if you look on page 108, just across from these questions on the page 108, at the first paragraph, plants in many ecosystems can produce chemicals that protect them from predators, parasites, and diseases. This ability results from the plant's adaptations to their environment. In rainforests, where so many organisms eat plants, plants have many adaptations that protect them. Some protective chemicals that rainforest plants produce can also be used to fight human diseases. B, you're going to need to explain what plant is the source of Taxol and what is the function of Taxol in this plant. So the second paragraph on page 108 says the Pacific yew tree. The Pacific yew tree grows in temperate rainforests. It's unusually resistant to many diseases and insects found there. Scientists began to study the bark of the Pacific yew to find out why it was so hardy. They separated the various chemicals found in the bark, and they discovered unusual crystals. These crystals are made from a chemical called Taxol, the substance that protects the Pacific yew tree. So that gives the source of Taxol and its function within that paragraph. You can also go back and listen to it again or just read it again. That's your choice to make sure you've got a